Hello, and welcome to episode 17 of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. Today we'll be discussing the results of IEM Oakland, Dreamhack Winter, and a bonanza of LCS news. I'm your host, Havokpus, and today I'm joined by...
We have frozencreek back again. It seems like everyone new who comes in goes, or has a first name, which I also have. My name is Josh too, but just call me frozencreek.
It's much easier that way. We are also joined by another new guest. He is an audio engineer who will hopefully help our show sound a lot prettier. Welcome, Ian, aka Trombone Guy.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Nice to have you on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Ian, tell us a little bit about yourself really quickly.
Yeah, I'm currently going to university for audio engineering, and I play primarily League of Legends. I'm Plat 4, and I also keep up with the Melee scene for Smash Bros. Pretty well. So I am a pretty big fan of the C9 League team. I've been a fan of them since their creation in Season 3, and I've kept up with them pretty closely ever since. So it's super cool to be on the podcast and finally get a chance to talk about them with other Cloud9 fans.
Yeah. This show's really fun, and me and Frozen have a lot of fun doing it. So glad to have you on board.
How'd you get involved in doing the podcast, Ian?
Well, I was on the C9 subreddit, and I saw there was a podcast, and so I was like, oh, cool, I love podcasts. I like to listen to podcasts when I drive back and forth from my university and my home, since it's about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive, depending on traffic.
Jesus.
And it's also I like to listen to things when I go to sleep, just some background noise to fall asleep to. And so I started keeping up with it, and finally I was like, well, I'm learning all this stuff, audio engineering, and maybe I could help out with the podcast. And so I sent you guys an email, you responded, and here I am.
Short answer, he sent us an email, hint hint. Also, we're at episode 17 now. The overarching goal I'm setting is to get to episode 69.
Hey. I think if we can do that, we can call the show a success.
For sure.
All right, let's jump into things.
Yes. First off, let's talk about IEM Oakland. It was a very interesting event for CSGO and League. For CSGO fans, Cloud9 unfortunately dropped out of groups, going 2-3. The one that I watched, I can't remember who they played, but it was kind of unfortunate. They had a really slow start, and it was on Dust 2, which is like their map. So they had a really slow start on counter-terrorist side, and they tried to get back in the terrorist side, and people were making some clutch plays, but they weren't really able to really pull out the big W's.
I think overall it was kind of disappointing. I was following it a little bit and asking a trade the whole time about what this meant for us, because I'm not a huge CSGO guy, but I thought that the expectations were to, at minimum, get out of groups, and it was kind of sad to not see them make that step.
Yeah, I had actually I'd seen some stuff about them before. They it looked like they were doing pretty well as of late, and so I was really looking forward to hopefully seeing the CSGO team make it farther, because before I hadn't heard a whole lot about them, like making it super far in tournaments and all that. So it's cool to see the expectations at least kind of go up, but seems like it kind of fell flat a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, after that big tournament win against SK Gaming, I think everyone's kind of expecting them to, go to the finals for more tournaments. I'm not sure if they're just kind of fatigued from having all these big tournaments that they have to keep going to, and they're not really getting enough practice time, or what's the deal. It's kind of hard with CSGO because I'm not really familiar with the scene. It does seem like organizations have to go to like a lot of tournaments, and I can certainly see how that could be draining because there's not really like downtime.
Yeah, like especially compared to League, where it's like there's the LCS and then there's some breaks and then there's Worlds and then like IEM if you go to it. CSGO is like there's so many more tournaments.
Yeah, there's like IEM and Dreamhack and iBuyPower and all these other big and small tournaments. So it seems a very like chaotic sports scene to kind of be in.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the most disappointing part was it was in their backyard. Like Oakland is in California, which I assume they're stationed. So I kind of expected them to make a good run at it after their victory in Brazil. So there's always next time, but it's whatever. I've seen worse happen. I've watched the Detroit Lions for my entire life.
Always good to learn about disappointment early, so you can learn to deal with it in an adult way.
Oh, trust me.
All right. Well,
no one has seen disappointment like me.
Hey man, if the Cubs can finally win a World Series after 108 years, I'm sure the CSGO team has plenty of time.
And anything is possible, folks. But moving on to League of Legends, IEM Oakland for LoL was a very interesting tournament. You had Unicorns of Love 2-0ing INTZ, then they faced TSM, our most bitter of rivals, and that crowd went from TSM to NA Library very quickly.
It was impressive because TSM won game one. All the commentators were like, "Oh, TSM's just this elite team, blah 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 blah," and then Unicorns just kind of just shushed them. It was impressive. Like we knew that Unicorns was good. They lost to Splice in the regional semifinal in Europe, and we knew that they were a good team, but I didn't think they were good enough to come into NA and beat TSM. But the ADC change completely screwed them up, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. For Unicorns of Love, I think especially in the Gauntlet, they made a good run at it. They did a lot better than I think people were expecting, and so the expectations coming into it, it was like, or coming into the TSM games, excuse me, it was like people didn't really know if they were going to show up like they did in the Gauntlet, or if they were just going to kind of be a middle of the pack, just okay team like they were for a lot of the season. But they really showed up this tournament. Like they really showed up. It was really impressive watching them play.
The most impressive person who showed up was their manager.
Oh,
with his
that dude was jacked
outfit, and then his EUNA symbol on his chest.
I saw that they did like an AMA after they won, and someone actually asked their manager about their workout routine, and I actually took a screenshot of it on my phone so I could do it, because that's the type of body I want to achieve.
He's stacked.
He's so jacked.
Dreams.
I think one interesting thing about TSM was it kind of put them back. It was kind of like what they were in 2015, where Bjergsen was having to do most of the work, really. Hanser was left up in the top lane on an island where there wasn't much help. Sven Skaren was trying to make as many plays as he can, but that wasn't really enough. And since Doublelift is gone, a lot of that shot calling and carry potential is gone. So now you have Wild Turtle once again flashing forward and dying. And Biofrost was kind of exposed as the rookie that he is. And since Doublelift isn't there to hold his hand, he's just not performing as well as people were expecting him to. So it was really interesting to see that just one change in the position kind of threw off their whole dynamic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people really underrated Unicorns of Love because they didn't go to Worlds, but they have a seasoned bottom lane at this point, and Exile has looked really good. Him and Senkux were my two most improved players of the last EU split, so I don't think it's too much of a surprise considering that TSM threw in a new AD carry, but I didn't expect them to come in and win the whole thing.
I think also the casters were kind of hailing Exile as like the next Bjergsen because he looked very strong. Especially going against Bjergsen. Once they took away the Zillion, which is kind of Bjergsen's cheese pick, once they took that off the board, Exile was making pretty quick work of him on the Orianna and such.
He dominated a lot of EU mids. Once he played that LeBlanc game. I don't know who was against, but he got super fed and just came out, and that was like his coming out party. And ever since then, he's looked spectacular, like one of the best mids in EU.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, game one, it was like the thing that really stood out to me in the TSM versus Unicorns game one was just how ridiculous Zillion plus Olaf is. Like that combo is just insane.
That just
yeah, they did have Olaf. Yeah, that was ridiculous because it was basically like you had like 6 dudes on the team because Zillion could just revive Olaf, and so Svenskeren would just like tower dive and just camp mid lane. And so it was almost like an unfair fight for Unicorns.
Yeah,
really.
It was like they would Sven would run in on Olaf, and Ragnarok, like the one counter to it is, it drops Olaf's resistances. You can kill him. And it's like with Zillion, he makes him run faster, and it's like, oh, you killed him, now he's back at full health. It's like, congratulations, you didn't accomplish anything. So it's that combination is just disgusting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I think props to Unicorns coach though for recognizing, Zillion is the problem. Take out Zillion, we have a much fairer fight. And I think they even stepped up even after that against Flash Wolves. I think they really stepped up and showed that they can compete against like an Eastern team and show like, hey, look, we're just as good as you. We're just as good as those other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, moving.
The Flash Wolves game was really exciting.
Oh yeah, the Flash Wolves was super fun. Another thing that I wanted to mention though, going through the games was just like game one, they Unicorns picked support Misfortune, but it just didn't work like at all. I think it went like 2-7 or something. It was just it was bad. It didn't work because they didn't have Ashe, and so they had no lockdown for it. And she just got caught out so many times. And
yeah,
it just...
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, and it was like, it works if you have like insane positioning, because her movement speed passive, it allows you to just dodge like Zyra's E super easily. But she got caught out so many times, and it was like, it just didn't work at all.
Yeah, I think with really oddball picks like that, and I've experienced this a lot in just like playing normals, where you'll just get people playing like really weird support picks because they don't want to play actual supports. But they could work if you're ahead, and your team is doing really well. But when you're behind, they don't really generate a lot of value for your bot lane or your team. So if you get behind, you really struggle.
Yeah, especially Misfortune.
So I get that's. Yeah, especially with Misfortune.
She brings nothing but damage.
She really needs that damage for her ult, so...
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of the big weakness for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And game 2 was just like sloppy early game from TSM. There was, I know around the 14-minute mark, there was a really sloppy Jhin ult from Wild Turtle. He got he ulted with a Bard almost right next to him, got one shot off, and then just had to cancel it and run away, and he did 0 damage after that, and it was just really, really sloppy. TSM played the early game kind of meh, but then they cleaned UOL up at Baron around a Baron fight, and they
and then like the next fight they UOL ace them, so like the Baron goes
it was
away.
like they started pushing mid and Unicorns just came back and
it was really
them.
weird.
So it's like
what
are you doing?
Yeah, the whole thing was crazy.
Yeah, Veritas went off on Ash that game. It was like his arrows versus Jhin. He picked him off his ult so many times. It was like Jhin versus globals is just, it's, if you don't have someone standing in front of you at all times, it's extremely hard to play because you just get Ash ulted and you're useless.
Yeah, stuff like Bard, Nami, and Ash really do put him in an awkward situation because it's like a catch-22. Well, I can ult and maybe get a bullet off, but then I get stunned. Or I can save my ult, but really hurt my team's engage in fighting potential. So
yeah, exactly.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation.
Moving on to game 3 real quick. I just kind of want to skip over this one real quick because I want to get to the Flash Wolves series. That was the fun one. But there was like there was a Bard tunnel that around 6 minutes he flashed into a wall to try and get a tunnel off, and the tunnel ended up being about an inch long, and it was just a complete waste of a Bard flash, and it was just funny to watch. That cost them a couple kills. There was Kinnan played a massive part in that game. Got a few great TP ganks off, and then at the, I believe, let's see, is it? Yeah, here it is. They Kinnan at the end of the game got basically a 5-man ult off and aced their team, and they just ended up winning the game. It was, Kinnan played such a big part in that game.
Yeah, Chachi's Kennen was really smooth, actually. It was really... I've never really put too much stock in Vizichachi, because he just never really stood out to me as a top laner. But in this series, he really stepped up, and he got a lot of solo kills off of Hansert, especially on Kennen. So I think he really stepped up and showed that he's way better than people think he is.
Yeah. So things I took away from that series is that Olaf is a super strong pick, especially with Zilean. Global abilities versus Jhin are super good. Bard Ashe came out. Kinnan is super strong because if your exhaust is down, he just rips through your whole team. And Turtle still likes to go ham.
Always flash forward. Never forget.
Yep. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the TSM series.
Do you want to? We probably need to be moving on, but do you have any quick points about the Flash Wolves match before we move on to our next topic?
For the Flash Wolves, it was just a super back and forth match, or a series of games. They both teams looked really good at some points and kind of sloppy at others. But the thing I wanted to touch on was Game 5, the Kalista pick. That was super out of nowhere. Everyone says Kalista's terrible right now, and then they pick them, and she gets 16 kills.
I was really surprised about that too.
Yeah, it's just such an off-ball pick, and I think it really goes to show that even if people say a champion is terrible, never count them out. They're always going to be pro players are always going to be able to pick champions and make them work.
It also seems that Unicorns of Love just have a magical effect of picking random champs and going off on them, like Kale mid and Gnar jungle and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's been their whole organization, honestly, since they've been formed. Back in the days of Kikis picking Twisted Fate jungle on hit TF jungle, it was they've been a team based off of creativity and being unpredictable and chaotic.
Yeah, I certainly didn't expect it just because, she got so many nerfs and she's so dependent on her support presence now that I didn't really expect to see her, but it shows that you can still play her. So that's really good to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other final thoughts before we move on to Dreamhack Winter?
I forget which game it was, but there was a 5v5 level 1 fight. It was pretty funny to watch.
Oh yeah, they were both in the bushes. And then one of them
looked like
forward.
a game of solo queue. It's we're gonna cheese the other lane, and they both just run head on into each other. And
I watched that.
Unicorns loses 3-1. It was that was funny. But yeah, that was basically it.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So moving on to DreamHack, C9 was there in CSGO and Smash. Once again, C9 couldn't really make it out of groups. They lost 1-2, which is pretty sad. They just kept kind of struggling to really close out matches. I didn't watch much of that, but the matches I did see, I think I saw the one that they won, but I saw the one against Renegades that they lost, and that one was pretty unfortunate. Also, Dig got eliminated, which was also weird because they seemed to be like the favorites to win.
It's just kind of unfortunate to see because Automatic and such were playing amazingly up until the Brazilian tournament, and it just seems they fizzled out. Because like there was a good streak where they just didn't lose.
Yeah, Automatic is especially. I've been really championing Automatic because it seems like since his addition, the team has been playing just better and better and better.
Amazing.
And it's kind of
at one point.
Yeah, it seems kind of weird that they're kind of slumping now. But I guess every team does slump. Hopefully they can fix their issues because I'd really like to see them win a bunch more and maybe go to a lot more finals.
Yeah, for sure. Getting the C9 name out there for CSGO as a legitimate threat in tournaments, like, hey, don't sleep on us because we'll like run you over if you sleep on us, is something that would be really cool to see. One of the big three esports getting another like a really good team out there, a consistent top tier team would be pretty great.
Yeah, I'd like to see a top tier C9 team as well in all esports, not just one. C9 domination all the way.
For sure.
Moving on to Smash, Mango attended the Smash Solos tournament. Ended up getting 4th place. I believe he was in the losers bracket, and he lost to Leffen on Falco, I believe.
Yeah, Mango played Falco the whole tournament, or at least in the top 8. He played really well. He hasn't played Falco in a while, actually. He likes to stick to Fox, but I think some of it might have been due to Fox's seeing some heavy nerfs on the PAL version of Smash. So he might have went to Falco because of that. But yeah, he still has a really clean Falco. He played extremely well, showed some trouble versus Hungrybox, which is something that he's had trouble with recently, just overall. But yeah, he ended up getting knocked into losers by Hungrybox, and then got knocked out of the tournament by Leffen.
Yeah, I watched the one against Leffen. There were a couple points where he was really putting his heart into it to try to kill him and win a round. It was really unfortunate, but it to me it's just really awesome to watch him play because he's doing all of these really quick combos and stuff with Fox that I could never, or Falco, that I could never have dreamed of doing because you have to just press buttons so fast, and I could never in a million years make my fingers work that way.
Yeah, for sure. Mango, always known in Smash for his play style reflects his character as a person. Like, he's a very, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he is a super outgoing person, and his play style is just all about going all out all the time, balls to the wall, always up in your face. And his Falco play reflects that super heavily. He's always going ham. Sometimes it gets him in trouble, but obviously he's one of the best Smash players of all time. So he has a lot of merit to it.
Yeah, I really like him because of that kind of hyper-aggressive style. I did notice that against Leffen, there were a couple points where he did try to get a little cute with it and ended up trading a stock. But other than that, I totally get behind him. I really need to make a point to watch more of him play because he's super cool.
Yeah, Leffen, one of the most analytical, calculated styles next to Armada. He can punish that super aggressive play style because he'll kind of pick up on what you're trying to do, and he'll punish you pretty hard for it. But it's all about mixing up your aggressiveness. So I feel like if Mango, especially with Falco, if he goes to any more PAL melee tournaments, he'll be able to maybe practice up a little more and try and get back that super aggressive in your face feel that we've all known and loved him for.
For those who are unfamiliar with the Smash scene, me, could you explain to what the PAL tournaments are? Because you mentioned nerfs.
Yeah, basically, there's the NTSC version of Melee, which is the version that North America uses, and the majority of major tournaments are held in North America, and that is the unaltered, like unnerfed version of Melee.
Just the unchanged GameCube
Yeah, exactly.
version,
The original
basically.
version that came out that most people are used to. And in that version, Fox's recovery is much longer. His up smash is much more powerful. I think his up air is more powerful as well. And all of those things about him in the PAL version, which is the version that Europe uses, all of those things were nerfed. His up air doesn't have quite as much knockback on it. His up smash doesn't do as much damage and knockback. His recovery is a lot shorter. And so it's much switching over when you're used to that kind of play style is extremely difficult, because it's like, oh, I'm going to recover and I'm going to make it, and you just fall flat. And so Falco, a little bit less changed, didn't receive as many nerfs. He's much easier to transition.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's cool to know. I didn't know that. So thanks for providing that information. Frozen, any thoughts on Dreamhack?
I got nothing. I think I.
All right,
I already said it.
he's got nothing, ladies and gentlemen. He's tapped out on Dreamhack.
I'm full of it tonight. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Hopefully you can talk a little bit about our next topic, which is the Cloud9 Challenger team is going to Argentina to play in the Logitech G Challenger tournament with a updated roster a little bit. We have Licorice in the top lane, High returning to the jungle, DeMonte in the mid lane, Deftly at ADC, and Zazel returning as support.
I think that this roster has a lot of potential, and I think that this is a more exciting roster than what we saw in the spring, just because it does have a lot of names that we haven't really seen. We do know that Zazel is knowledgeable about the game, at least just from his streams, because he did a couple streams when he was first announced with Sneaky, and he talked a lot about the matchups in bot lane and about his opponents, like specifically calling out Afro move for some of his roams and stuff like that, and he was able to counter them it really well. But then he kind of disappeared, so I'm assuming he just didn't make it up to par at that point. But this is a great experience for him to work with a bunch of other younger guys who aren't quite reaching the hump into LCS to learn from High and get some good experiences going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I was just going to say, yeah, I basically agree with everything that Frozen said. It's always a great experience for young talent that has a lot of potential to go and get experience outside of just solo queue and like in-house tournament, or not tournaments, but like scrims and stuff. So great experience for that. I really look forward to seeing how they do and what kind of play style they can evolve into.
Yeah, for sure. I think also High will be immensely useful in this tournament because he is a really good in-game leader. Whenever he was on the Cloud9 LCS roster, he was always really good about shot calling and really good at keeping morale high, even when it looked like, by all accounts, the game was pretty much lost. So I think having him as an in-game leader with, you know, these rookies and inexperienced players, I think that'll be really good for them to kind of really learn the ropes of how to play in a team and play on stage against other teams in a tournament.
I know that Zazel and Licorice have been in the org at least a little bit, because Zazel was obviously signed to as a support substitute at one point in time. Yeah, Licorice was on that third Cloud9 reserve team, I guess, that scrimmed with, I assume, the Challenger team.
Yeah, he was on that Shadow squad.
Was DeMonte and Definitely on that squad too?
I'm not sure. Definitely his name sounds familiar, but I can't remember where I've heard it from. He may have been on one or two other Challenger teams, I'm not sure where Demonte is from. He might be new, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know too much about them. The Logitech G Challenger tournament takes place on December 4th. Well, I think it's that weekend, but Cloud9 Challenger is only going to be playing on the 4th.
Yeah, so keep your calendars open, keep your eyes out.
And that's a Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, December 4th, Sunday. So keep your eyes out for that. So you guys, we have a big bushel of LCS news. I think we should jump right on in because there's a lot of stuff.
A lot.
A lot. Should I go down, like, just kind of break it down by region?
Let's just say first off, we're recording this on November 28th, so if anything happens after then, that's why it's not on the podcast.
Yeah, very good point. But for NA, we have a lot. Cloud9 received $3 million from unknown sources, a very big deal. We can afford players and staff and a whole bunch of other stuff, so that's really important. Dardoch has officially left Team Liquid, and Reignover will be taking his spot in the jungle. Phoenix One signs Adrian to play support. TSM has parted ways with Weldon, and also circulating the rumor mill, Pobelter will play support for Echo Fox, with their lineup being Looper, Santorin, Froggen, Keith, and Pobelter. In Europe, Splice has re-signed most of their players. I think the only one that hasn't signed is maybe Wonder. I can't remember exactly. You might want to look up on that one. But ULL has gotten a new jungler in Xerxes. He is a 17-year-old rookie. People have been saying he's actually really good, so that should be interesting. The biggest news out of EU, though, is Febivin has left Fnatic for H2K, so watch out for him. I also think Amazing and Soaz will be on Fnatic, so that will also be pretty cool.
And
coming out of Korea,
Steelback
I'm sorry?
has also gone to Vitality also.
Yes, Steelback has gone to Vitality, for those Steelback fans out there. And in Korea, Smeb, Kuro, Gorilla, and Prey have all left Rocks Tigers, which is pretty sad. Arrow and Hachani have left KT Rolster. For KT, the new super team is rumored to be Smeb, Score, Pawn, Deft, and Mata. And Duke and Bangi have left SKT. So that's a lot of news, but it's all very interesting and very exciting. So I'm going to leave it to you, Ian, and you, Frozen. What do you all think of it?
Alright, I'm going to start off saying that it looks like SKT lost a jungler, and that there's a certain kind boy out there who is still looking for a team. So if anybody from SKT is listening to this, I think they need to take a look at the legendary Cloud9 Rush.
Pick him up. He's great. Do it.
Yeah, I think.
But going.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna go back to NA. I also saw a rumor that allegedly Pobelter was given an offer for the mid lane spot for the Cloud9 Challenger, former Cloud9 Challenger, soon to be someone else team too. So that would be a possible destination also.
Yeah, it seems the rumors that Immortals' original roster is dissolving is pretty accurate now, considering Adrian and Reignover have left. Wild Turtle is, at least for the moment, still on TSM, and Lord knows where Huni is going to go. So, really going to be interesting to see what Immortals pull out, but they might all just be done.
Yeah, my thoughts on this was the first thing that really popped out to me was that Reignover and Huni are no longer on the same team, which it's been a very long time since that's happened, and I'm really interested to see how they perform with like separated like that. Because I know that they were a really close duo. Like they were kind of a package. You got one, you got the other, and they played really well together. But Huni did have some over-aggression issues. He would tilt really hard as well. So I'm interested to see how that works out. Another thing is Dardoch. I'm interested to see how Team Liquid goes about replacing his position, because I know he was kind of known for being not the nicest person in the world. So maybe they look for someone with like a better attitude to kind of help the team move forward. Because I know that was a big problem for them, like internally, was just the amount of, like, I don't want to say hate, but the amount of just like bad blood it seemed like they had towards each other sometimes.
Yeah, the Team Liquid situation was really basically like Dardoch, Loco, and Piglet just all fighting non-stop. And it really created a hostile work environment. I agree. I think Team Liquid's going to be really interesting because, they do have Reignover now, and I think he's a really talented jungler, so he can really open up the team. I think the question is where their other positions are going to go. Because mid they could keep Phoenix, or they could get like Pobelter or somebody else. And for ADC, I don't know if Piglet's going to return or not. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, my bad on that. I said, oh, sorry, but I was going to say I accidentally said if they were going to look for someone else. But yeah, Reignover is going to Liquid, so hopefully that'll help out.
Yeah, I think right now Reignover is a better jungler, so it is a step up in that way. But it looks like that roster is just kind of in disarray right now. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with any of their lanes at this point. Like, are they gonna keep Arc second on doing something? I don't know. I'm interested to see what TSM's gonna do too with their ADC position. And with coaching and stuff, since Weldon's gone.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. They could take Turtle, but I'm not sure how much that would really help. Especially now that pretty much it's back to 2015 TSM where everything is on Bjergsen, and if he doesn't do well, the team may end up crashing and burning. So it'll be really interesting to see how they perform.
How about Echofox, though? They've allegedly got Looper, Santorin, Froggen, Keith, and Pobelter. That's a pretty good roster, I think.
I'm not sure how Pobelter will be at support, though.
Yeah. I mean, bot lane's a recipe for disaster. But
yeah, I mean, players have role swapped to support before. I mean, like Aframu did it, Core JJ did it, and they were fairly successful. But I'm not sure how familiar Pobelter is at support. Core JJ and I think Aframu were both ADC mains, so they at least understand the dynamic between ADC and support, and swapping those two roles is a lot easier than going from mid to support.
Yeah, but I think that it is a roster with a lot of potential. I think the bot lane's a recipe for disaster with a new support and Keith, who's really not all that great. But I think
what do you think about Santorin? Do you think that he's finished being a living word? And he looked better on RNG.
I like
I will
Santorin.
say.
I think he's pretty good. I'm not going to say he's great, but he's definitely a step up. Like, Echofox had to make some switches up, and I think that bringing in Santorin and Looper's like steps up from where they were last split.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I actually have a surprise for you. We actually have questions. It only took us 17 episodes, but we have a couple of questions. Yay. The first one comes from Yuno. What do you guys think of the roster changes happening in the offseason so far, and do you think C9 should make any roster changes? To cut this short, we did answer the first part of that question. So do you guys think that C9 should make any roster changes? I'm going to say no. I think they should stick with the roster they have and continue to build that synergy. What about you guys?
I don't think that there's a lot of switches that they need to make. I think that there is a potential to toy with like a lineup a little bit, just to maybe bring out that last gear, because it seems that they were running a little bit slow, I guess. Not really slow, but like below
they play
their
really
potential
conservatively
at the end
in
of
the early
split.
game.
Yeah, but they came together really well. But looking at the roster, there's probably not a ton of potential beyond the heights that they hit last season. It's going to help that a lot of the of the competition has kind of fallen down a notch with TSM losing 2 big keys and Immortals falling off the face of the earth. I think if they want to make that step up to be like one of the best Western teams, that a roster change needs to happen by season 8. I don't know what that is, but I think that right now we are in a good spot, and I think if rosters stay around where they are now, that we have to be favorites to win the spring split.
I agree with that. I feel like there is a little room for improvement, in my opinion, just because Impact's TP ganks in a meta that was kind of dominated by like how well your TP ganks were, they were a little lacking sometimes. He would smash lane so hard a lot that it didn't really matter, but I feel like if they can improve on that, the just the communication factor, I feel like that would put them ever so slightly higher than they ended the season. And I feel like Meteos had a little bit of room to improve as well. There were some times that he just looked like not like a super top tier jungler. Just like the play on Lee Sin at Worlds, for example, was just like he didn't look super good. He looked great at the end of the game, but just early game it was a little bit lacking. So I feel like he has some room to improve. But overall, I feel like if they stick together and just keep building synergy, I think the roster has a lot of potential still to be just like downright the best team in NA, especially with TSM not having their main AD carry anymore. And for sure, one of the best Western teams, hands down.
All right, well, no calls for C9 Dardoch just yet.
Okay, that is something I was hoping someone would bring up. Okay, so I think that Dardoch to C9 would be an interesting move. I don't think he's ready for it right now, just based off what I've seen. But if Dardoch were to come to Cloud9, I would open my arms to him. I think that he has all the potential in the world. I just think that he uses his energy in attitude poorly, but that's something that can be switched around if someone can come along and kind of slap him in the face and tell him that sometimes he is wrong and that they can get in his head. Now, if I don't know if we have anyone on our roster that can do that, though. But I think that if we wanted to make a step up, that Dardoch would be, come Worlds time or Season 8, he would be one of like the main contenders to make this roster really, really good.
I feel like...
Yeah, I can see that.
As far as someone that can kind of like put him in his place and like really tame him in terms of like his attitude, you said that you don't think there's anyone on our roster that can necessarily do that, but I feel like Reaper is the perfect person to do that.
Yeah, I think I think he's no nonsense. I think when he's in the scrim room and he's on stage, he's all business. And when he says jump, you'll say how high. He's not going to take any shit, I don't think. I also think just as another aside, C9 has kind of been the Jack's wayward school for troubled LCS players. Because we've taken in Jensen, who has had a history of being a toxic EU player, and now he is number 2 mid laner in North America, and he's really trying to work on having a better mentality towards the game. We hired Kubs for a little bit, who had a checkered past, but he seems to really improved and matured. After that, and maybe also while working with Cloud9. So I think that if we have the potential to straighten out yet another kind of loose cannon, we have a good track record so far, so why not?
Absolutely. And I think another thing with Reaper is like his background, his history. He's coached SKT, he's coached Jenner, another Korean team. He coached EDG for a while, and so it's like he has a history of a lot of these Asian teams, which their outlook on the coach position is the coach rule, like in Reaper's words, the coach rules with an iron fist. Like he's used to being that voice of, you listen to me and you do exactly what I say. So I feel like he could definitely be that person that Dardoch needs to kind of learn and understand how to mesh with other players.
Yeah, we'll just have to see if any more roster announcements come about. If they do, you'll certainly be hearing them from us. Really quickly, just another question from Boosted Star. What do you guys make of all the Korean roster changes, and will any high-profile ones come to NA? I personally think it's a really interesting thing that's going on right now. It's really shaking up the scene over there in Korea, especially since there are a lot of high-profile players. If any will come to Korea, if any will come to NA, I think it's possible. We certainly have the money to do so, because I think that's the main reason why Korean players come over here. I think it's just a question of which one will we kind of grab by the ear and say, like, hey, we got enough, and you're willing to go to a lesser region.
A Looper came over. Is he Korean or Chinese, though?
Yeah,
Korean.
He played on the Samsung White roster back in Season 4 Worlds.
Oh, okay. I wasn't into the league yet. I mean, it would be nice to see some Koreans come over, as long as they're not as boosted as GBM was.
Hey, he's trying out for jungle now. He can do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that
he's probably a great player, but he looked boosted as fuck at the end of that last split.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may be a bit too overhyped, I will agree.
Do we know what Duke is doing now that he's off SKT?
I don't think that's been announced. I think anyone that's left, like SKT or the other Korean teams, I don't think they've really been announced where they're going to go yet. So I think we can only kind of speculate. I don't think any big ones like Smeb or anyone super high profile will come to NA.
Yeah, it looks like it's a good amount of top laners also, and that's not really a position that NA really imports all that much.
Yeah, we're not really in the market for top laners. I think mostly North America looks for like mid laners, maybe AD carries.
Yeah, junglers.
Junglers too, yeah. Really like carry positions, really. We don't really need like supports or top laners because they're more just kind of tank and utility. Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I think it's still kind of early in the off season. I think more announcements will probably come out as December starts to get here and go by, because I think spring starts in like late January, early February. So we still have some time.
Far away.
Yeah, a lot more time to bullshit and speculate.
Yeah, that's all we can do at this point.
That's all we can do. But yeah, thank you for those questions, you guys. I'll probably ask the C9 Discord same time before we record if they have any more questions. If you do have any questions, you can always tweet at us at C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. We'll probably get to your questions. So feel free to send those in. So very quickly, guys, as we always do, what was your moment of the week, if you have one?
I don't have anything in specific. I don't think. I'm just gonna. Actually, I'll go to other sports with the Detroit Lions, who pulled out a clutch win on Thanksgiving to lead their division in NFL. So shout out to them. At least I have someone in sports to cheer for this year.
All right, that sounds good. What about you, Ian? Any big esports moments or sports moments?
Nothing too big. The Flash Wolves versus TSM game, was that this week or last week?
You mean Flash Wolves versus UL?
Oh, no, the UOL versus TSM game. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that was last week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It counts.
It counts?
It counts.
All right, well, yeah.
It's basically whatever happened in between the episodes.
Okay, so yeah, definitely moment of the week then, getting to watch the manager run on stage and pull the Sharpie out and write on his chest the the EU is greater than NA thing, I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
It was legendary.
That was pretty funny. I'm gonna take a page out of Frozen's book and take an actual sports event. Yes, I have to do it, Frozen.
No, you don't.
I have to do it. The Tide is once again undefeated in their season. They beat Auburn 30-12.
They smashed that game.
It was great.
Is anybody's surprised
We're the Korea
at all?
of college football, Frozen. You have to just get over it. Give us the trophy now.
Why don't we just do that each year? But you know what? You would not be where you were if it not for Michigan State, because Nick Saban
that's true.
coached at Michigan State.
That's true.
He said he was never gonna leave, and then he did.
we
And then he
thank
went to LSU.
Michigan State. We thank LSU. We thank the Florida Dolphins. They were all integral into crafting the man that has pretty much dominated college football for the last 8 years
you also
or so.
have to thank Michigan State for High. He is.
Oh yeah. High went to.
I
Michigan
believe
State.
he dropped out, but he is also
He
a
could go back.
Spartan.
You can always go back to college. Anyway, that was that was the show. This was the 17th episode of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. Thank you for listening.